my friends. J.R. Dukes at your service. Appreciate everybody being here. Make sure everything is a go as we just started the go button here. Looks like we're doing good on Twitter. And it looks like everything's working like it should over on Twitch. And of course, everybody's coming on in from YouTube. Come on in. We got a quick little poll, as you may see when you first come in. Real simple. Who do you think is going to win tomorrow? Of course, everybody's eyes is on the big debate tomorrow between former President Donald Trump and, of course, the sleepy, confused, unfortunately probably sick President Joe Biden, which is unfortunate despite what we might think of his policies. That is definitely a very concerning situation, to say the least. So anyway, be sure to take the poll. Let me make sure our comments, everything's working. Then we're going to jump right into it. Today, we are going to be looking at a speech that former President Donald Trump just gave in Philadelphia. I think it was Saturday or Sunday of this last week. And get this, he had approximately 20,000 plus individuals that attended that speech. I mean, that is just amazing, the amount of numbers that he actually has attending his speeches. By the way, if you have any type of comments or questions, please do not hesitate to ask whatever question you might have. I'm going to go ahead and put in, what do we have here? I got a link for you if you would like to join me live and talk, chat, ask a question, whatever is on your mind. Okay, I got that copied over. Feel free to join. It is real simple. There are instructions that you can go ahead and use if necessary. There's the link. I just put that on the link, so everything is right there. You just simply click on the link. You can simply call in, meaning you don't have to actually appear on camera if you do not want to do that. If you would like to join via camera, it's no big deal. It's like talking on FaceTime or any other video chat type of situation. So, at any rate, that's going to be what we're going to be drilling down on today is his speech. You know, obviously, Donald Trump has some serious charisma. That's one of the many things people like about him. Even detractors of President Trump would say that he is definitely an individual really like Bill Clinton as far as likability. Let's be honest and be straight up about it. Whether you like him or dislike Bill Clinton or Donald Trump, they both have certain things in common, and their personality is one of their strongest attributes. All right, welcome on into the show, Zach. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining as usual. And Zach, I think I've told you on the chat while we're on the subject, you might want to unsubscribe and resubscribe if you're not getting the alerts. Maybe it has corrected itself since you have joined so quickly. But anytime you're having that problem on YouTube where you're not getting alerts, the solution is to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. And generally that fixes the problem most of the time, not always, but generally that will fix the problem. Anyway, you got the link. Looks like we're ready to go. Welcome to everybody who is already in the chat, and any questions, put them in the comments accordingly. So let's get on with it and let's listen to this speech by former President Donald Trump. He definitely has a lot to say, and we're going to talk about it as we go through it.
Thank you very much, everybody, and hello, Philadelphia. I went to school in Philadelphia, I must say. I like it. And we won it twice, in actuality. And we won it all the times in the primaries. We had great success here. We're going to have the biggest year we ever had. This is going to be a big one. And hello also to this great place. I love this place. You know, I've gone to a couple of games. You used to have good teams. You still have good teams here? I don't know. A little bit. I had a great coach, actually. Hello, Pennsylvania. It's good to be with you. Good to be with you. I'm thrilled to be back in the birthplace of American freedom with thousands and thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots, which is what you are. With your help, 5 months from now, we're going to win this Commonwealth. We're going to evict crooked Joe Biden from the White House. And we are going to make America great again.
What do y'all think about that? Him make America great again. It's pretty well the same mantra, motto, whatever you want to call it, that he had during the 2016 and I guess 2020 campaign at the same time. I personally like it. I guess if you got something that seems to work, continue to go with it, although it is debatable whether it worked or didn't work in 2020. I guess you'd have to say it didn't work because he's not the current president. So anyway, Zach, I'm glad that that worked for you, and I want to welcome you one more time. And of course, my friend Sapphire, welcome on in. Come on in, everybody. While you're thinking about this, any questions or anything you have, please put it in the chat as we go through this. And I'm curious as to exactly what you think is Donald Trump's strongest attribute, and at the same time, what is his weakest attribute, his weakest problem, or whatever. I'm just curious what you may think about that.
4 years ago, our border was secure. Inflation was nowhere to be seen. The world was at peace. They respected your country. And America was strong like never before. All because you finally had a president who put America first. I put America first. Now under crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country, the world is in flames. Our border is overrun, inflation is raging, crime is out of control. Europe is in chaos, the Middle East is exploding, Iran is emboldened, China is on the march, and this horrible, horrible president is dragging us toward World War III. We're going to be in World War III soon. I see every movie he's making. Remember, Trump was right about everything. You see the cap? Trump.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a serious issue that we face in the world today, and that is, I mean, how else could you word it any differently? I think the fact that we are on the verge of a World War II type situation is definitely something to be concerned about. I mean, you got the world on fire as of right now, and you have, I mean, what we got going on? We got wars over in Ukraine. We got wars in Israel. You saw the disastrous pullout that Joe Biden had in, where was that, over in Afghanistan? You have China that's on the march, to put it bluntly. They have their eye big time set on Taiwan. The situation in Ukraine is extremely complicated by my estimation, but let's be honest about it. It's a complicated situation, and it's a very dangerous situation. I hear people all the time say, well, we're just going to keep pumping money in there until Russia loses. Do you really think Russia is going to lose? They are technically the largest nuclear power on the face of the earth. They technically have more nuclear munitions than we do. So keep that in mind. I don't see them losing. One thing I do like about President Trump is he is always talking about the fact that it is extremely important that we talk to our adversaries. And as far as that is concerned, I think that that is extremely important. We're going to continue on here.
Move them none whatsoever. By the way, we're moving the Department of Education back to the states, and we're going to do it quickly. And you know, some of our states are going to do a fantastic job with running education. If you think about it, we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world, and we're at the bottom of every list. So, as I used to say about a group that likes me very much, what the hell do you have to lose, right? We might as well do it. And we'll be able to cut education in half and get much better education. In some of the states, I could name them right now, will have the best education anywhere in the world. Some won't do as well. There are a couple of states like, I would say Gavin Newsom will not do well.
Newsom, did you hear that? Newsom.
Under the Trump administration, we're going to bring law and order and safety back to our streets. We are going to bring success back to our schools. We're going to bring prosperity back to our forgotten communities, and we are going to liberate our once great cities and make Philadelphia better and more beautiful than ever before. But saving this once incredible place begins with stopping the killing and the crime that's setting records every single week. Unbelievably, crooked Joe Biden is going around trying to claim that crime is down. He says crime is down. Crime is so much up. First of all, we have a new form of crime. It's called the Biden migrant crime, right? Biden migrant. And all these millions of people that have come in here, they're just getting warmed up because, you know, they wanted to feel it out. They didn't know what the words politically correct mean because in their country, if they did what they do over here, they'd be shot and killed instantly. They can't believe what's happening over here. So it's only going to get worse. It's going to get worse and worse right up to the election. And after the election and January 20th, it's going to get real good. It's going to get real good. Going to go fast. We're going to give immunity to our police. So if they arrest somebody or if they speak a little bit harshly, they won't be discarded. They won't be destroyed. They won't be thrown in jail because they raised their voice to a criminal. They won't lose their family. They won't lose their home. They won't lose their pension. But the FBI crime statistics Biden is pushing are fake. They're fake, just like everything else in this administration. Now he's even saying that all his mishaps were fake. They say the fake news covered him in a fake manner.
I'm sure y'all have heard that on the news too. The new speech or let's just say the new excuse that the White House, especially that Jean-Claude Pierre, whatever her name is, they actually have the nerve to look in the camera and tell each and every one of us that, oh, these are cheap fakes that we're looking at pertaining to President Joe Biden and whether or not he can keep a thought or two together. And I think the other term is just that they're just outright deep fakes. And of course, a cheap fake being essentially a real video that they edit, allegedly, in such a clever way as to make it look like something that it actually is not. Does that make any sense? That's exactly what the White House wants us all to believe, which I believe is nothing but a crock, to put it bluntly. And Zach, thanks for pointing out my spelling. I am the world's worst speller, my friend.
That's a lot of fake news. That's a lot of fake news back there. All we want them to do is be honest, because they're all going out of business. Nobody believes them anymore. And it didn't help when they went along with the Biden scam. What is he called? What is he called? You know what he calls it? So they get him in about 9 different positions. I mean, even normal positions, although I assume he's been in some very bad ones. But they get him in all these horrible compromises.
All right, Sapphire, my friend, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
It's all going good. Appreciate you joining us today. What do you think about Donald Trump and Joe Biden's debate tomorrow?
I think he's going to win.
Think so?
Yeah. And Benny Johnson, I watched him the other day, and he said that Biden has already been told that if he loses the debate, they're going to pressure him to resign.
I've heard a lot of rumors like that too. A lot of the stations are reporting exactly what you're saying, that if he has some kind of mishap, some kind of extremely poor performance, that's exactly what they're going to try to do. But I don't know exactly how that's going to work because he's got the delegates that he needs to actually claim the nomination. And I really don't know. I really don't know how that would work. I don't know who could stop him if he decides that he's not going to go for it.
Benny said what they will do is have him resign and make Kamala the president, and that she will get his delegates.
Okay. Well, let's put it this way. Something's going to happen. I will agree with you on that. Even if he was, God forbid, to win nomination of his party and he was actually elected. Again, I guess the nomination's pretty well a foregone conclusion. However, if they were to stop him somehow at the convention, that would be interesting to see how that would work out. The other thing is that, you have, what is it, the 25th Amendment? It's a very poorly written amendment. However, his cabinet could decide to replace him. I mean, I guess it would be very simple. And I don't know about you, but when I think of a president, Kamala Harris, that literally sends chills down my spine. What do you say?
Yeah, I think that would be disaster. Then he said that it would be good for one thing: Trump would destroy her. It would guarantee that Trump is the next president.
Well, I will say this. I know her polling numbers are just, really in the tank. They're just about as low can be
Right.
for Camilla Harris. And as we talked about before, she's got one heck of a history herself. I think we've talked about on this program before. When she got her start, she was basically just the girlfriend of, what was that, Willie Brown out of
Willie
California. And
Brown.
this goes
Yep.
all the way back to the 80s. And he essentially appointed her, I believe, to city council. And that was the beginning of her career. And when you think about that, it's just extremely, I don't know, it's just problematic on there. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all works out. I will tell you some good news. I'm sure y'all have heard this. You had that Mr. Alarm guy over in New York lost his primary challenge.
He lost his primary. That's a good
thing. Yeah, and what is that, Jamal something or another?
Jamal Bowman.
Yeah, Bowman. Thank God that he lost. Finally, it gives me some hope for our country, if I'm being perfectly honest about it. I don't want to sound too dramatic about this, but the fact that even the Democrats apparently are getting tired of this nonsense, this socialism, this anti-Israel BS, it makes me feel a lot better that even within their own party, they were able to clean house. Because let's be honest about it, I did not see anybody stand up to anyone in the squad and say, you know what, we're tired of this nonsense. We're tired of these things you're saying. It's nasty, it's evil, it's un-American, it's anti-American. It is something that we just should not tolerate in this country. But that's my perspective. What say you?
My perspective on it is he's in a Jewish district. What planet was he on that he thought he could spout anti-Jewish rhetoric and anti-Israel rhetoric and expect to re-win his election?
I think that's a good point. And of course, you had the Jewish group. The name escapes me. The group they put AIPAC. That's right. They put in like 14.5, $14.2 million, somewhere in that neighborhood, into that election to elect essentially a more mainstream Democrat. And let's be honest about it. We talked about Bill Clinton before. The party of John F. Kennedy, the party of Bill Clinton, even, is nothing like the Democratic Party of today. I mean, the Democrats of today could only best be described as a socialist party. You see any difference with what I think on it? You agree? All right, good. All right, well, all right, and we'll stay tuned with us if you can, and let's listen to some of this pertaining to Trump, and interject when you like to make a comment, and we'll go through it here, and we'll go through some of these comments along the way. So let's dive into this a little bit more.
Posts, and then they say he wasn't. It really wasn't that way. It was total. Then everybody sends in. They all have cameras. See, every one of you has a camera. If I blow it up here, though, they take a perfect, brilliant, beautiful statement that I make. I go for 2 hours without teleprompters. And if I say one word slightly out, they say, he's cognitively impaired. Whereas Biden can run into walls. He can fall off the stage. He can fall up the stairs. He falls up.
I have noticed that in a lot of different newscasts, especially on MSNBC. Every time there's one little thing between Donald Trump, maybe he accidentally confuses someone's name. I think he said something about Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton a while back. And I mean, they'll play that all day long for 4 or 5 days. And yet you have Joe Biden, he can't even stand up. I mean, clearly he walks like an old person. He walks like a person in decline, unfortunately. And they just give him the benefit of the doubt. And it's basically like I've been saying. It's kind of like they're peeing on our leg and they're trying to tell us it's raining, you know?
Right.
You see it any different, or is it, go ahead.
Something about the debate tomorrow night. Biden's team was demanding that Biden be able to sit down. And I give Trump credit. He said, no, it's a debate. He should stand.
Yes. Yeah, he should stand. I think the format, though, has them sitting down, right?
No.
Oh, they
Well,
are
they're
standing. I did
standing.
not know that. I thought they were going to be sitting. Okay, well, that's news that I did not know. I really can't imagine Joe Biden standing up for that length of time. That's the reason why I thought they were going to be sitting down. But that's going to be interesting, and I'm sure you've heard this too. Joe Biden himself has went ahead and picked. I guess he won some type of coin flip, and the situation that they came into, or I should say, the benefit of the coin flip was he got to choose between speaking last or having placement on the stage, and he went with the placement and apparently chose the podium that's closest to the exit, which is odd. It just shows me he's afraid of falling and walking. Is that the way you look at that?
Well, the way I look at it is he screwed up royal because he's letting Trump speak last.
I agree completely. I know this from just friends that I have that are attorneys, and frankly, it's pretty well common knowledge. But anytime you're in a debate, whether it's the courtroom or whatever forum that you are in, one of the main things you want to do all the time is you want to have the last word. That's the reason why the prosecution in court generally goes last. I think that's the way it is in most states. The prosecution goes last, and the reason for that is the prosecution has the burden of proof beyond the reasonable doubt that they have to meet. So they generally get the last word. So I'm like you are. I'm pretty well perplexed about what's going on.
Right.
Well,
and
it is what it is.
To see how Biden does, to see how jacked up he is. Because if he's like he was at the State of the Union, he's going to be yelling and screaming at everybody. That's going to turn people off.
Now, we have talked about this many times, and you and I have texted about this back and forth. Clearly, there is something going on with Joe Biden's health. We all know that. If you look back at the State of the Union and what transpired during the State of the Union, it is very clear that Donald Trump called it right. He's being jacked up. We've talked about it on this program several times. There's medications like Provigil, Ritalin, some of these other stimulant type drugs that can pretty well give you a boost. And they may even hide temporarily some of the cognitive conditions that you're suffering from, and potentially even physical ailments that you're suffering from, because it may give you more energy, you feel better, your gait may be better, this type of thing. So I would say the president saying that Joe Biden is going to get a shot in the ass, I think that's I think that's pretty accurate. We'll just have to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Let's drill back into this this huge speech he gave this past weekend, and we'll go from here.
He can turn around. Listen to this. From 20,000 feet, a paratrooper is landing right in front of him. Everybody, all the foreign leaders, they're watching. And he turns around to look at a tree. Right? No. And then they say it was fake. He was fine. And then the press goes along with it. They go along with it. They say, isn't it terrible the way they cover him? No, he's terrible. The worst president in history by far. And we have to get him out, or this country is not going to survive another year. According to the much better national crime victimization survey, there has actually been a 43% increase in violent crime since I left office, including 58% increase in rapes, an 89% increase in aggravated assaults, and a 56% increase in robberies. Other than that, I think we're doing quite well, don't you?
You know, pertaining to that paratrooper incident when he was over there in France, I know the ladies on The View were going absolutely bonkers about in their words, that it was mislabeled. It was in the wrong context, that he was talking with paratroopers off to the side. But the thing is, I went back and looked at all the raw video that I could find. He was looking in the direction of paratroopers. But the problem is, none of the paratroopers were talking to him. They weren't even looking at him. And it was very clear that President Biden left the group. It's like he doesn't recognize social norms anymore. I mean, I think that was clear. Did you see it that way too?
What I saw was that he basically really didn't know where he was, because he was supposed to shake hands with the guy in front of him by the others, and he turned and walked over to the side and was reaching out to shake a hand of somebody that wasn't there.
Yeah, it's pretty stark exactly what's going on. I mean, everybody can see it. It's they can lie to us any way that they want to lie to us, and
Right.
they can keep blowing the sunshine up us or the smoke, whatever. And the bottom line is, every American knows what's going on. I really am having a hard time understanding why more people are not speaking out on this and calling this for what it is. But let's get back and let's dive into this more.
I
But
think
with
it's
your vote,
because
Joe
they're
Biden?
afraid.
You think they're afraid?
Yeah, because
Afraid of what? Afraid of who would
well,
replace Biden,
this
or what do you think?
happened. This happened today. CNN called YouTube and told YouTube any channels that live stream the debate tomorrow night should be canceled. And
Really?
Robert Govea said,
Mhm.
"We're live streaming. Let them come after us." He said, "I'm a lawyer."
Yeah, well, I don't understand how they would take that position, because everybody is going to be live streaming it. I would say definitely the major networks are going to be streaming it. And I'm sure there's plenty of people on YouTube that are going to stream it. I was thinking
Right.
about streaming it myself, but I might just
They're,
have a
they're
after show type thing.
right. They're going to try to use copyright infringement.
Well,
Which,
we'll see how that
that
works.
whole scenario is scary, because they're sitting there trying to say, "Oh no, we're for free speech," but then they call and say, "If you show this, we'll cut you off." That's against free speech.
Well, generally, I don't broadcast anything that's live for that very reason, because that will get you in trouble, especially on YouTube. However, if something is simulcast, generally it's just what they call an open license. Anybody that wants to
Right.
pick up on it is welcome to do so. Again, I'm not an attorney, but I play one on YouTube, is the
Yeah.
joke that I always say. So I would say for a channel like mine, the safest bet is just to wait till it's over, have an after show, have a next day show and talk about it, or even rebroadcast it. But to actually do it while it's going on, if you're a bigger channel, you probably get away with it. But I think your points are spot on. So I appreciate you sharing that. We're going to dig back into this video and comment shortly.
This wave of bedlam and death and terror will begin to recede the moment I take the oath of office, January 20th. First, I will stand with the heroes of law enforcement. We will give our police officers the respect and protection, resources, and support that they need to drive down your crime to zero. Second, we will surge federal law enforcement resources to the places that need them most. There are certain places, like places that I know very well here, that are just absolutely out of control. I mean, if you walk down certain streets here, you have a 50-50 chance of not ever seeing your home again. That's not too good. Instead of throwing Christians in jail, as Biden has done, we are going to crack down on the gangs, the drug dealers, human traffickers, and criminal cartels. Third, we're going to stand up to the out-of-control, Soros-backed DAs like Philadelphia's despicable Marxist prosecutor, Larry Krasner. How did he get in? Krasner has the blood of countless men, women, children on his hands, including thousands of African-American citizens, because he refuses to prosecute people. They don't refuse to prosecute me. I got more prosecutions than any human being. I've got more than the great Alphonse Capone. You ever hear of Scarface?
He says this a lot during his speeches.
Oh, my
Talks about
parents.
Al Capone.
My parents are looking down. How did this happen to my son? You know how it happened? I won an election that I wasn't supposed to win. I then did better the second time by a lot. We did much better, you know, for those of you in the fake news, we did much better the second time than we did the first, like not even a contest. In fact, we got the most votes for a sitting president in the history of our country, And then we were told, oh, but you just missed it. You just lost. No, we can't let this happen. And I'll tell you what, I have never seen, and we had a great 2016, we had an even better 2020. There has never been enthusiasm like I'm seeing right now. There's never been. Never been.
His crowds are huge. He has huge crowds at each one of these events. That last event he had in Wildwood, New Jersey, I believe it was over 100,000 people in attendance, and the venue is only regulated or supposed to have like about 40,000. Amazing numbers.
And the interesting thing is the Philadelphia rally where Trump had all these people. Biden was in Philadelphia and went to a gas station, and there was him and 2 other people.
I have heard many reports about the crowds at the so-called Biden rallies, and it's more like a meeting, a lot less like a rally. So I have heard that myself.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Isn't that great? You know, they've got the best seat in the house. Because if there's a star in the crowd, you know, the cameras on them, like the whole thing.
Cole, I don't know what live stream you're talking about. If you want to call in, just hit that that stream link that I have, and you can join us. We're happy to have you.
They maybe only can see the back of my head. But you know what? The camera's on them. You think you have the best seats. If there's a star in the group, they will be found by the fake news. But my administration will aggressively defend the right of every American to live in safety and in peace. We're going to have a safe country again. We're going to have a safe country again. For that same reason, we will end Biden migrant crime. New category, it's a vicious crime. I told Dana White of UFC, I said, here's what we're going to do. You know, these are tough cookies coming into our country, coming with prisons and mental.
You know, I wanted to take a minute. We have talked about this before, too. My girlfriend is Venezuelan, and she had a friend of hers come visit us not long ago. And she told us, because you hear Donald Trump make comments about how the prisons are being emptied, the insane asylums are being emptied. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Her friend said there's almost no crime in Venezuela anymore. The jails are empty. The hospitals are empty. They are like, go on with it, you know, and they cross the border, and we see the results of this now with all these killings and rapes and all these other crimes that are going on. Now, I don't want to single out Venezuelans necessarily. Frankly, I think that we should keep all the women here and send the men back, but that's another story. I don't want to digress, but at any rate, in all seriousness, I'm okay with people coming over, but we have to track and know who's coming into our country. Pretty common sense.
You know, here's something that a lot of people don't know. Biden cut a 100-foot square hole in the wall.
Well, on his first day in office,
he said he was told that pronghorn antelope migrate to Mexico, and they don't. They migrate from Montana to New Mexico.
Well, I know on his first day in office, one of the first things he did was kill the Keystone oil pipeline, and right along with all those signatures, he essentially reversed every Trump policy we had that essentially secured the border. I mean, we have 12 more million migrants here, illegally, I might add, since Joe Biden took office. And, you know, here's a little irony for you here. If the decision by the U.S. Supreme Court does not grant absolute immunity to Donald Trump, or at least some type of heavy immunity that the Supreme Court will decide here very soon, you can have President Joe Biden brought up on charges for murder or some type of involuntary manslaughter for allowing all these people across the border illegally that have committed these crimes against these children and adults.
Right.
Interesting little take on that, ain't it?
Yep.
You got a comment? Go ahead if you want to comment on that real quick.
I think that Biden has opened up a Pandora's box, and
I think he has too.
Because once the lawfare is out, you can't put it back. It's like closing the barn door after the horse is out. Once it's done, it's done. It's here forever.
Well, I think your comments are once again right on point, because now that it has happened to Donald Trump, it's just a matter of time, unless the Supreme Court stops it, that it's going to be reciprocated. And the other day we talked about all the presidents that frankly could be in legal jeopardy, including President Obama for killing Americans, not on American soil, but with drones in other countries. And I mean, the list goes on and on of potential culpability that they have. But the Democrats have brought this lawfare and essentially made it the new norm. And I can only hope and pray, for that matter, that the Supreme Court will use some wisdom. And I hope they come out with a unanimous decision. I am going to predict one of those 6-3 verdicts, unfortunately. We'll just have to see what happens. All right, we're going to drill into this, and then I'll.
Something interesting the other day.
Go ahead.
Kavanaugh said, "We are not making this decision for Trump. We are making this decision for future presidents."
Exactly right. I believe it was Alito that made the comment that really resonates in my mind. He said, "We are making a rule for the ages." And I just have a small glimmer of hope that even the libs on the Supreme Court will recognize that this is not about their hatred of Donald Trump, their disdain for Donald Trump. This is something that affects our entire country, our entire system of government. And instead of worrying about if one man or woman, a president now or a president in the future, might get away with a potential crime that in U.S. history has never happened, they need to focus on the fact that they need to make sure our country is protected, our families are protected, our freedoms are protected. And in my mind, that is a risk worthwhile, that a president might get away with some type of unspecified crime if in return all of our liberties are protected and guaranteed. Pretty straightforward,
John
right?
Brown Jackson is so out to lunch. In the hearings the other day, she actually said she thinks that the Attorney General advises the president on what matters are legal and not legal.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that too. They were trying to say if he checks with the Attorney General, then he can get away with it. I don't know where she's pulling that out of, but
I don't know
whatever.
Because
we'll just keep our fingers crossed on it.
Yeah, the Attorney General is supposed to be independent and separate from the president.
Amen. Amen on that. Let's get back to this, and then we'll go back for comments.
I said to Dana White, UFC, he's got a big fight going on right now. He's a good friend of mine. You know what he said the other day? They said, "Who's the toughest person you've ever met?" He said, "Definitely Donald Trump." He said, "Donald Trump." How about that? But I said, Dana, I have an idea for you to make a lot of money. You're going to go and start a new migrant fight league. Migrants, only migrants. And then at the end of the year, the champion migrant is going to fight your champion. And I hate to tell you, Dana, I think the migrant might win. That's how tough they are.
He got a lot of slack in the media over these comments right here about having the migrants do some kind of USC fight. I don't know if y'all heard about this in the press, but like MSNBC and a few of these other liberal talking heads, man, they went freaking ballistic for about a day and a half over this.
They're not this is not a normal situation. This is not, oh, isn't it wonderful, these wonderful people. These people are drug dealers, gang members, killers in so many different ways. No. And we probably have 18 million. We'll have 20 million by the time we get this guy out of there. But we got to get him out fast. We got even bigger problems. We got to get him out fast. The biggest problem is what he's saying to Russia, China, to Kim Jong-un, North Korea. What he's saying to these countries, they're laughing at us. They can't believe this has happened to America. On day one, I will seal the border, stop the invasion, and send Joe Biden's illegal aliens the hell back home. Day after day, week after week, Joe Biden is releasing illegal criminals into our communities to rape, pillage, plunder, and to kill. And by the way, here's the only thing. He doesn't even have a clue, in my opinion. These are young, smart people that happen to be fascists and communists that surround. They surround him in the Oval Office, the beautiful Resolute desk. It's been soiled. That gorgeous Resolute desk. What they're doing to our country, they're destroying our country. Just this week, a 12-year-old girl in Houston, Jocelyn Nungari, was tied up, stripped, and strangled to death after walking to a 7-Eleven, her body dumped near the side of the road in a shallow creek. Charged with Jocelyn's heinous murder are 2 illegal alien savages that Joe Biden recently set loose into our country. They came across our border.
Yeah, they killed that young girl on that bayou. I grew up in Houston. Used to ride go-karts up and down those bayous right there, and it just makes my blood boil to hear of these type of tragedies and what happened to this little girl. You can only imagine what her family is going through, and of course, it's unfortunate to say, but all we can do is pray and hope for her family. It is a tragedy.
Claiming they feared for their lives in Venezuela. They feared for their lives.
Yeah, you're right. She was like 12 years old, just a very cute little girl doing her thing. I'm not sure what side of Houston it happened on, but they have those bayous everywhere for flood control reasons. So yeah, it's absolutely tragic.
In Venezuela, in Venezuela, crime is down 72% because they've taken their criminals, their drug dealers, and most of the people in their jails, and they've brought them to the United States of America.
We just talked about that.
So they were afraid for their lives, and think of it, they couldn't stand it. They were so afraid. I'm so afraid, Venezuela. But they waited only weeks before murdering this precious, young, beautiful girl. One of them was here for 21 days before the murder took place. Last week in New York, another illegal alien who Joe Biden set loose into our country approached 2 13-year-old children with a machete in broad daylight, and like a scene from a horror movie, he forced them into the woods, tied them together by their wrists, and raped the young girl at a park in Queens, a park that I grew up right next to, while filming it on camera. He put it on camera. He thought it was great. I used to go to that park. I'd ride my bicycle like a kid. I was a kid, too. Can you believe it? I'd ride my bicycle to the park. My mother loved me, but she'd say, oh, good, now be home at a certain time, I'd ride there. This went on for years. There was never any thought of anything happening. Now, if you go to a park near your home, you have a very good chance of never seeing your child again. This is not living in a country that we grew up in, and we're not going to stand for it. We're not going to stand for it. We're going to take our country back. We're going to take our country back. In Iowa this week, another illegal immigrant released by Joe Biden pled guilty to sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl. And last week, yet another Biden migrant was arrested for the rape and murder of Rachel Morin. I just spoke to her mother, Patricia, Patty, as they say, but Patricia. Rachel was a 37-year-old Maryland mother of 5 whom he attacked while she was out for a run. She wanted to stay in good shape, and she ends up getting killed. Police believe that the animal responsible for Rachel's killing first murdered another young woman in El Salvador. Then he fled across Joe Biden's wide open border. Wide open, come on in. Into the United States. You know, we had the safest border in the history of our country. Now we have the unsafest border in the history of the world. After which he savagely attacked a 9-year-old girl and her mother in a home in Los Angeles before killing Rachel. And a lot of Rachel's family is here. I have to say that they're incredible people. And we're deeply grateful for the brother.
This is clearly a winning issue for the president, no doubt about it. This border is aggravating everybody, and these murders and rapes and whatnot are just underscoring what we already know is a tragedy. And again, we have to remember that on day one of the Biden administration, he literally stopped any type of finishing of the wall. The materials are still there, and the migrants are using these materials to help them walk over certain sections of the border.
Right.
Absolutely outrageous. You got any comment on that, Zephyr?
I heard that Biden put the sections of the wall up for auction at 5 cents on the dollar.
He did what? 5 cents on the dollar. Say it one more time.
I said I heard that he put the sections of the wall up for auction at 5 cents on the dollar.
I wouldn't be surprised. It just, again, we're adding insult to injury on this whole thing, and these crimes just absolutely unspeakable and absolutely outrageous.
Sister,
I just got a text message. The Pentagon has threatened North Korea.
We got fires all over the world right now.
Right.
Michael Morin, Aaron Morin Lehman. Would you stand up, please, wherever you may be?
Yeah, he's recognizing the families.
They've gone through hell. I've watched them on television. I've watched you on television, and it is a tough deal. People say time. I don't know about time. I don't know if that's the answer. Thank you very much. Michael and Aaron, we grieve Rachel's loss. We pray that God will ease your pain, and we resolve to secure our border so this will never happen again. But you know it's going to happen again because we have an incompetent man. He's an incompetent, and he's happens to be the president. You know, all he has to do is say, close the border. He doesn't need Congress. I need Congress. I didn't have Congress. I closed the border. We had the safest border. He doesn't, all he has to do is say, close the border. And it's closed. That's all you have to say. He doesn't need anything from Congress. It's just unlikely that a thing like that would have happened. Thank you for being with us. Yeah.
You ever been to a Trump rally? It's a blast.
That's when I first, we built hundreds of miles of wall. We got Mexico to give us thousands and thousands of soldiers. And we had a great border even while we were building it. And then we were going to add 200 miles of wall. And we had a rigged election take place. And what happened is when I left, all hell broke loose. And they didn't want to finish the wall. They didn't want to put up the additional wall we built. And it was all built to the highest specs of Border Patrol and ICE. And they're incredible people, by the way, Border Patrol and ICE. And instead of putting it up, which would have taken 3 weeks, they decided to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar. And the rest is history. When I return to the White House, we will stop the plunder, rape, slaughter, and destruction of our American suburbs, cities, and towns. That's what's happening. And it's getting worse. It's getting worse. Worse and worse and worse by the day. We will shut down deadly sanctuary cities. I will shift massive portions of federal law enforcement to immigration enforcement. And on day one, we will begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. We have no choice. We have no choice.
I don't really think that they're going to be able to have a deportation operation like he is stating but I'm sure it's going to play well with a lot of people. I don't think it's legal, and to be honest with you, I don't think it's practical. And I would only also add that the immigrants that are here that are good contributing members, we probably at some point are going to have to do what Reagan did back in the 80s and find some way to make a path to citizenship.
Right.
Yeah, it just the problem with Reagan, if you
something-
remember, is the Democrats promised to seal the border, and they never did. After Reagan granted the amnesty, the Dems reneged on their part of the deal.
Something that happened 2 weeks ago told me that it's all over for Biden. Sean
What's that?
O'Brien is the founder of Sequoia International, the largest tech firm in Silicon Valley. He donated $500,000 to Trump, and he said, "This is probably going to cost me friends, but I don't care. What they're doing ain't right."
Well, let's put it this way: there's a lot of people that are not happy with Biden. Period. So,
You know who
Right.
had the largest?
And he said-
General Dwight D.
John
Eisenhower
O'Brien
when
said
he was
he was gonna
president.
get-
Good job.
All of his billionaire friends to donate to Trump. That says a lot.
I think so too. All right, we're going to hit back to the video, and then we'll go back to another question in commenting.
General, good president.
All right.
Very much responsible for the interstate highway system, but he was tremendous on not wanting people to illegally flow into our country. He had the strongest deportation program. Ours will unfortunately have to be much stronger than his because he didn't have 20 million people walk in, and these are people out of the jails and out of the mental institutions. He didn't have that. He had people walk in, but they weren't the people that we're getting. And you know what? I know every one of the presidents over there, presidents. I call them presidents, dictators, kings, queens. I know every one of them. They come from all over the world, by the way. I would do the same thing as them. They're emptying their jails and they're emptying their mental institutions. I would have done it faster than them because actually they have some people left. They're dumping them in. We're like a dumping ground for the rest of the world. And it's going to stop on January 20th.
Amen.
At a level that you haven't seen before. It's going to stop. I don't know if they have it. We have a card. We have a card that shows, a graph that shows.
Something else just happened just now.
Yeah, it's got a little tech.
I don't know.
What are they
It's
saying on?
called that.
What are they saying that's happened?
The Bolivian military just stormed the presidential palace.
I'm not surprised.
Doing this for a few years, right? So if you look at that arrow on the bottom, the red arrow on the bottom, that is the week that I left office. That was the lowest level of illegal immigration in the history of our country, recorded history. Okay? And then Crooked Joe Biden came to office. Crooked as a $3 bill. I used to say $2 bill, but they make $2 bills, right? He's crooked as a $3 bill. He came to office right there, and there was an explosion of illegal immigration. By the way, drugs and human trafficking, too. And human trafficking is mostly in women, I hate to say. You think of it as an ancient thing, but you know what made it almost as big as the drug dealing stuff? You know what it was? The internet. It's made it massive. Human trafficking in women. And there's more of it going on right now than any time in the history of the world. And it's taken place during this horrible, pathetic president's time in office. So there it is, and that's done by the Border Patrol. That's not even done by Trump. That looks like it's done by Trump, right? That's done by the Border Patrol. That was the lowest point, that arrow. I'm very proud of that. And that supersedes a couple of things. You know what? That was in the ratings book. Because last night, and they will never tell you this because they're fake news, but last night, Rasmussen, which is, in my opinion, the most respected poll out there. Now, of course, if we get a bad one, I'll take that back. if I had a bad poll, if they come out with a bad poll in a month from now, I'll say Rasmussen is terrible. But Rasmussen, no, it is a highly respected pollster. And they came out with a poll last night that Trump is 10 points up. Okay.
That's one thing people love about him. Tells it like it is.
The fake news will not. But they do report that we're leading in every single swing state. We're leading in Pennsylvania by a lot. No, we're doing good. Good-looking man. Good. Thank you. I like the hat. Thank you very much. No, we're doing.
And remember that when you hear these polls, you get a lot of these polls, oh, Trump's doing real good. And then you get polls recently, oh, Biden's tightened the race or Biden's leading. Always remember, ever since Trump actually become a politician way back in 2016, the polls have consistently underestimated what Trump was going to draw, especially in 2016.
Doing good. We have some people here. Where are those? Look at this. See those beautiful women? I don't know what the hell their husband.
Benny Johnson
Go ahead, Sefer.
Is originally from Iowa.
Uh-huh.
And on Sunday, he said that the Des Moines Register, which is the most liberal paper in the state, did a poll and shows Trump ahead by 18 points.
I heard that. I heard that myself.
He said if Trump wins Iowa by 18 points, he wins the entire Midwest.
They have New York State in play right now. He's within like 8 points, and it's still a long ways to go before November. It hasn't. I don't think New York State has been won by a Republican since Ronald Reagan.
Right, and I think if he names Elise Stefanik,
they come from a place called.
I think if he names Elise Stefanik VP, he'll win New York.
That is an interesting concept. We're gonna find out soon.
Yeah, her district is Fort Drum, home of the 10th Mountain Division. She is very popular on base.
Interesting.
Nobody's ever heard of this. North Carolina, right? Which we won both times. And won by a lot. And in fact, we did so good, we took Michael Whatley, the head of the Republican Party in North Carolina, we put him in charge. This is their 118th rally. And I don't know what the hell is happening with their husband. I've never figured it. They're all married. They're all happily, I think, married. Are you happily married? Look at this. They come way over 100 times. And we also have front row Joes here. Where the hell is, look at them, front row. And they come in, and they've been here 201 times. I can't believe I did that many. How about me? Did I do that many? I did that many.
He's got his own political groupies.
Thank you, front row. And thank you very much. It's nice, and you look great. You look great. Are we going to win? We don't have a choice. So we got this poll last night from Rasmussen, and it was they also did it like with Kennedy and with the other ones in there. Cornel West. He's one of my favorite candidates, Cornel West. And I like her also, Jill Stein. I like her very much. You know why? She takes 100% from them. He takes 100%. Kennedy's probably 50-50, but he's a fake. He's a fake. He's a total fake. You don't want to. He's more liberal than Joe Biden and all of these communists that work for him. Kennedy's more liberal than all of them. He wants to be in the debate, but he's got bad numbers. You can't do that, right? I'd like to have him in the debate, actually. I'd love to have him in the debate, but he's got bad numbers, very bad numbers. I don't think he's going to ever make it. But Joe Biden's open border has also been a disaster for our great African-American and Hispanic-American population. So what's happening when millions of people flow over? The people that are most hurt are, number one, the African-Americans in this country. Number two, the Hispanic. Have they taken your job yet, sirs? They better not. I don't think they're going to get your job. I'll fight for you. They're not getting your job.
I love it. They're not getting your job. I saw that the other day. I like that.
Nobody's getting his job. But I will tell you, they're taking African-American jobs and Hispanic-American jobs. You know who else they're really affecting? The unions. And I have to tell you, we have a lot of Teamsters here. Do we have a lot of Teamsters? We have Teamsters, and I think we're doing 89% or something with the Teamsters. And they have a great leader. I hope Sean is listening right now. But we have a shot at even getting it from the top. I think we have a shot. But we have great Teamsters. They worked for me a lot in New York because they did the concrete trucks and other things, and they were incredible. But the unions are being incredibly impacted by all of these millions of people pouring into our country. But the African-American population is being destroyed by Joe Biden. Remember his statement, super predator, remember? Just don't forget the super predator statement. This guy's the biggest phony on earth. Virtually all of the net jobs created under Biden have gone to migrants. Almost 100% of the jobs created by Crooked Joe. What's better, Crooked Joe or Sleepy Joe? Ready? Wait, free poll.
He's going to take
Free
a poll
poll.
right here.
This is a free.
Hilarious.
You do a poll, they say that'll cost $1 million. They go out and they interview about 200 people. That'll be $1 million, right? Ready? We'll go Crooked Joe first, Sleepy Joe second. Crooked Joe first, ready? Okay. Who likes Crooked Joe the best? Who likes Sleepy Joe the best? Crooked Joe? Sleepy Joe? Whoa!
I love this guy on I think it's on the right-hand side of your screen right here, right above the PA for Philadelphia. Yeah. This guy's always looking straight up. It looks like he's either, I don't know if he's stoned or just happy, but he's just as content as he could be right there.
Yeah, he's just looking up like,
oh, yeah, he's having a good time. He's having a real good time.
That Sleepy Joe has ever beaten Crooked Joe. It's the first. So tonight, we'll refer to him as Sleepy Joe. Because right now, as you know, it's been reported that right now Crooked Joe's gone to a log cabin to study, prepare. No, he didn't. He's sleeping
Chris
now.
Wallace.
Because they want to get him good and...
Who is it now?
Chris Wallace. He's such a has-been.
Yeah.
He had Judge Judy on his show over the weekend, and Judge Judy gave him his comeuppance. He tried.
I didn't even know he was still alive, to be honest with you, Chris Wallace.
Yeah. He tried to tell.
I used to like his dad, old Mike Wallace. Yeah.
He tried to tell her that, Trump being found guilty was justified, and he was going off this and that. She told him, she said, "Are you crazy?" She said, "You'd have to twist yourself in a pretzel to find out what the actual crime was."
By the way, Zach, if you gotta go, pal, we'll catch you later on. I want you to take care of your cat. Yeah, no, I will Judge Judy. She tells it. She'll give it to you straight sometimes. I got you on that.
Strong. So a little before debate time, he gets a shot in the ass, and that's...
Oh.
They want to strengthen him up.
This is the part here, the shot in the ass. I love it. That's what he talks about. Everybody can see the obvious. Something's going on with this guy.
Right.
Every day he can barely stay awake or walk, and then at the State of the Union, he come out there like a prize fighter.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. One of the networks today had a snippet of his speech. I should have got a copy of it to show, but they were talking about how you can clearly tell this guy was on something. Man, he was talking a mile a minute during that State of the Union. He was rattling that that English off faster than I can.
Ronnie Jackson, to his credit, sent a letter to the Biden administration demanding that after the debate that he have a drug screen.
If
He
if
said,
they
"I
if they
sent
could if
five
they could
previous
make that, that
letters."
would be great.
He said he sent five previous letters, and he got no response at all from his five previous letters.
I'm sure they're going to ignore him.
So he
Yeah.
comes out. He'll come out. Okay. I say he'll come out all jacked up, right? All jacked up. Now, will anybody be watching the debate on Thursday night?
Hey,
I'm shocked.
tell American Nana.
No, I'm shocked.
Tell
On the
American
buffering?
Nana that the echo is in Trump's speech.
Yeah, there is a little echo in his speech. That is true.
Yeah.
You got everybody screaming
I'm
and
getting-
yelling in there. So I think
Yeah, I'm
everybody's
getting
pretty
the
well
same-
aware of that. You're going to get a little buffering, a little
Yeah.
echoing, no doubt.
But they've
Right.
taken so much fun out of it. There's no audience. They actually wanted us to sit down. I said, look, I really want to do this thing. You know, what happened is they gave me something that couldn't be accepted. They gave me an offer I couldn't accept, and I said, I'll do it. Number one, it was CNN fake news, right? Who hates Trump. Then it was Fake Tapper, who really hates Trump. And Dana Bash. Then it was, it's Dana, it's not Dana, it's Dana. You know that, right? Right? It's Dana, right? Isn't it? It's either. Scherzika. Then they said, think of this, but no audience. It's like death. There's two us and two of them. It's like death. This could be the most boring, or it could be quite exciting. Who knows? Presidential time, I can apologize.
Yeah, they got a little speed through here, too. I downloaded this video purposely to make it smoother.
Be tough.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Be
but
tough.
you get a little bouncing, a little speed sometimes.
So bad. So bad. But anyway, it'll be a good, I'm sure he'll be prepared. Whatever happened to all that cocaine that was missing a month ago from the White House?
This is where he's going to accuse Joe Biden
Whatever
of doing
happened?
the cocaine found in the White House.
Under the Trump administration, American workers will always come first. We will buy American, build American, and we will hire American. Biden wants. We're bringing it back. You know, the auto industry, United Auto, the auto workers are largely on my side. They have the worst union head in the country. This guy wants to make all electric cars, EVs, right? All of you. They don't go far. They cost too much. They're all made in China. Other than that, I think they're actually quite wonderful. But he's getting decimated by his union. He actually supported Sleepy Joe. He supported him. Sleepy Joe. See, just for this, because I'm going back to crooked, I think it's more accurate. I like crooked more. I think it's. In fact, I took it away from crooked Hillary, so I don't want to give it back to her, because now I call her Beautiful Hillary. She's a beautiful woman.
He's a master of
I
marketing.
said that's the greatest day of her life when I.
He knows marketing, and this guy knows that you want to define your opponent before they define you or before they define themselves. So
Right.
he always comes up with these labels, this crooked Hillary, crooked Joe, whatever. And I think it's a stroke of genius. I think that's exactly what you should do as a
Yeah,
politician.
Took the
Election predictions on YouTube has Trump up by 9 in Pennsylvania.
It's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting
Ending off
time.
her-
We'll have to wait and see
I
what
no
happens.
longer call her,
Definitely.
so I can't give it back. But I'm going to go Sleepy Joe just for the rest of this particular wild. This is a wild time in Philadelphia. Now the fake news will say Trump is rambling. No, it's genius what I'm doing up here, but nobody understands.
It's genius what I'm doing up here. I love it.
And you know what? They know that too, but they don't admit it. You know, when I showed him not being able to get off the stage, right? And I imitate him sometimes. You know, he always goes. And then after he does that, he can't find. You can never find the stairs. We get about 7 stairs on every stage. Here we have, look, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this was built privately, so we have only 4. The ones built by the government, you have 7 or 8. So I made the mistake of imitating him. There was a wall behind me, and I just kept walking into the wall, because that's what happens. And I called up my wife. You heard this story. I called up my wife, and I said, baby, who could do this but me? I had 35,000 people. You know, I had 107,000 people in New Jersey. Wildwood, we love Wildwood.
That's the one we were just talking about. 100-some thousand
We had
people.
25,000 people. And that was a rainbow coalition. That was unbelievable. And there wasn't one bad word out of it. There wasn't a fight. It was like a love fest. It was the most beautiful day. Everybody came together. You know why? The people of our country are looking for hope. Whether they're white, brown, black, or anything else, they're looking for hope. They're tired of being called stupid people all over the world. 4 years ago, we were so respected, and now we're being laughed at. I took hundreds of billions of dollars away from China. One of these fakers up there said, he didn't take any money from China, tariffs. I tariffed them for hundreds of billions of dollars. He said, the American people paid. No, China paid. And the American people didn't pay for it at all. They didn't pay for it. You know, they always find a reason. They're genius in a certain way, but they're evil genius.
I'm gonna dim this just a little bit while we chat for a second. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow night with the actual debate itself? Who do you think is going to show up? You think it's going to be a wound up Joe Biden? You think it's going to be a more calm, well, let's just say the old Joe Biden that we already know? And how about Donald Trump? You think he's going to come out swinging, or you think he's going to listen to all the pundits and have this kinder, gentler Donald Trump? What do you think is going to show up?
I think that he will be very Reagan-esque, and that he will be respectful of the office of president, but when they attack him, he'll come back swinging.
I think you might be right. I think that's what they were talking about Biden's trying to do in the preparation. He's trying to get into a situation to where essentially he's being taught things that they have observed makes Trump mad. So they're going to train Biden or teach Biden, whatever, certain things to say, ways to say it, so that it triggers President Trump. So President Trump can look deranged or look like he's a loose cannon. And of course, most of the talking heads that I have heard are basically telling him, no, come out, look presidential, do this, do that. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to take a different view. I think that when it comes to certain forums, it's probably a good idea to be presidential, if you will, like some of the interviews with some of the other reporters. He does a very good job, especially with an interview he recently gave CNN. I think that's great, but I'm just going to be honest. I think when it comes to the actual presidential debates, I think people want a fighter. I think people want him to come out and start swinging. I'm not sure how that's going to look with this nutty setup they got where they mute the microphones and stuff like that, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. What do you think about that?
Something that came out today, he's going to announce his VP pick before the debate.
I've actually heard that. I've heard that. Yeah. I have heard that he's thinking about doing that. Well, what do you think about that first, before I tell you what I'm thinking?
I think that would be good, because then it will tamp down expectations. Well, not expectations. You know, whatever happens during the debate will be canceled out by, this is Trump's VP pick. This is the person who's at the debate. Blah, 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 instead of focusing on Biden.
I think that's possible. It might even be likely. But I want you to remember this. Trump is generally a master of when it comes to putting on a performance, putting on a show, changing the conversation. And of course, I'm talking The Apprentice and shows like this. He knows exactly what he's doing. I could be wrong. It's just my opinion that all this talk about doing it before they actually get to the primary or the what's the word for the big show?
Uh,
The
something
help
that
me out.
Benny
No, no.
talked
What?
about
Oh, the
today.
convention. I'm sorry, the convention. Before the convention, do I think he's going to release it before the convention? I would be very surprised if he does. And the reason I say that is he's going to be sentenced just days before the actual convention. And I think a good
Right,
way to change the conversation is to pull out your vice president like the
right.
day after the New York
Something
situation.
that
What do you think?
Benny said today is that Trump is a master of public relations. He said that he showed all the people that are supposedly on the short list. But he said, my sources say that the VP pick will be at the debate. He said the people going to debate are Vivek, Ben Carson, Tim Scott, and Byron Donalds.
Well, I agree. I think he is. I think he definitely knows what he's doing. I'm really concerned about what's going to happen in New York. Everybody says he's not going to be sentenced to prison, and like I've said many times on this show here, I don't know how anybody can technically be convicted of 34 felonies, have been sanctioned by the court 9 times for violating court orders. Now, remind you, I'm not on the judge's side. I don't believe the gag order is constitutional on its face. I'm just telling you what the reality is. They
Right,
keep talking about Donald Trump is not above the law, all this other type stuff. I honestly think the judge is going to sentence him to something. And I am
right.
talking prison, something. Again,
I think
I could be
this.
wrong.
I
Sometimes I
think
am.
this. I think this judge is crazy enough to sentence him to prison and remand him to custody.
I happen to be on the same boat.
And
I honestly
the
see that.
reason why I think that is Peter Navarro, not Peter Navarro, Andrew Weiss, Weisberg, Weisselberg,
Right. Yeah, his controller, the right
yeah,
hand guy there, or
Trump's
whatever it is. Yeah.
controller,
Yeah.
70 years old, had Merchant for a judge. Merchant sentenced him to a year at Rikers Island.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what they're doing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I think you may be right on the spot. So we're going to jump back into the speech here for a second.
All right.
Vehicles. They don't go far. They cost too much, and they're made in China. That's why Sean Fain, or whatever the hell his name is going to be out of a job soon because he approved it. He's the head of the United Auto Workers. That's his name, I think. Don't forget, I've done most of the speech without these stupid teleprompters. So, you think Biden could do that? I don't think so. I had a speech recently. I was in Ohio, and we had 45-mile-an-hour winds. And I get up to the stage, and we had a tremendous crowd. And we have a good Senate race. Bernie Moreno is going to win, I think. He's got a good chance of winning. But I went up for him, and I get up, 45, 50 miles. I never saw wind like this in my life. If you had fake hair, don't run for politics. Just don't do it. It was blowing. I've never seen. I even went up with a hat, and the hat disappeared too. Everything disappeared. But I woke up, and within about the first line, ladies and gentlemen of Ohio, wow, and the things blew off the stage. I said, I am up here all by myself. I've lost my teleprompters. I've lost my hat. We got 50-mile-an-hour winds. People say we shouldn't even be here. But let's go. And I spoke for 2 hours, and Bernie Moreno then went out and won the primary in record fashion. So is that good? I said, you think Crooked Joe could do it? I don't think so. Sleepy Joe couldn't have done it. Sleepy Joe would go to sleep. But I will repeal every disastrous Biden regulation, cancel Crooked Joe's insane electric vehicle mandate, and we will, ready? Drill, baby, drill.
Amen.
Gonna get your energy way down. The Pennsylvania oil and gas industries will boom like never before. So what he did is prices started going. That's what caused inflation. He started cutting all the stuff that I did. So then he immediately put it back. So they're doing sort of similar numbers. He immediately put it back. But if they ever won, you're never going to see oil again. You're never going to see a car that goes more than a very short distance, okay? You're going to be all driving trucks if you drive a truck that's electric. You'll be.
That's a problem with a lot of those electric vehicles that they're trying to cram down our throats right now is despite what they're saying in the press, on TV, whatever, we don't have the technology for these vehicles to work the way we need them to work. And if you live up north, these things are a disaster, especially when it's cold outside. Then you have the problem with China. They control and have most of the what they call rare earth minerals we need to make those batteries.
Up here in Montana,
Exactly.
they will go 160 miles and the battery will be dead in the winter.
Yep.
And then it will take 3 to 4 days to recharge the battery.
I got family that lives up like in the north area, like in Chicago and stuff, and that's the exact problem they have. When it's cold enough outside or extremely cold, they can't even get the vehicles to start. And then you have the problem of actually trying to find a station. If you're traveling long distance, you have to make sure you map out ahead of time your trip because you got to make sure you can make it to the next charging station. When you stop at a station to charge it up, you're looking at a 20, 25 plus minute charging. I guess if you time it with meals, I guess it's okay.
There's a Cenex truck stop here in town.
Yeah.
They charge $59 an hour to charge your EV. And they said it takes minimum of 4 hours to get it charged 3/4.
And then you talk about saving the planet. You know, we're supposed to be switching to electric to stop the burning of these fossil fuels or whatnot. What people don't know is there is a lot more fossil fuels that are used in making these electric vehicles. And I'm specifically talking about the batteries. And then there's one final problem. We have an electric grid that has not been updated in the last 20, 30, 40 years, depending on your definition of an upgrade. We definitely have not built a new electric generating plant, I don't think, since the 70s. It's really just astonishing how our infrastructure has, because nobody wants it in their backyard. Nobody wants these type of facilities close to where they live. So they just simply keep kicking it down the road. You saw, I think it was the year before last, where Texas got cold enough and they lost their power because these power generating places simply do not work when it gets to a certain temperature or they get freezing rain or some other calamity that happens. And, and then what do you want to do? You want, go ahead.
Florida. I was there during Hurricane Maria. If they had an EV and it got flooded,
right,
the batteries burst into flames, and the fire chief said, once that happens, we have to back off because there's no way for us to put out the fire. He said, the batteries are in a sealed steel container, welded shut, with no outside access.
Well, the other thing that concerns me is what are you going to do? Plug all these vehicles into a grid that can barely handle the demand we're putting on it right now, especially in the summertime. Can you imagine being here in Florida? And I know most of the nation is currently suffering under a heat wave right now. Can you imagine everybody in the country having an electric vehicle that we're trying to charge up?
Right.
And we haven't improved the grid? Oh, man, we talk about a recipe for disaster. Absolute craziness. Let's hope that smarter people take over this conversation.
I like Trump's view on EVs.
Yeah.
He said, let people that want EVs buy them, but don't force them on everyone.
Amen. I think that's the way to look at it.
And I would think that's the way it should be. If you want one, fine, go buy one. But if you want a gas-powered vehicle or diesel power, you should be able to go buy that too.
I think having it where it just, essentially shoved down our throats thou shalt buy these vehicles. And these vehicles are not cheap. My understanding is you can't get an electric vehicle for under $55,000, something like
Right.
that. Maybe someone knows better than me. They could put it in the chat, but a bare minimum electric vehicle is 50 G's. A lot of people can't afford that. That's
Right.
insanity.
Because
Your average Tesla costs 69 grand.
Unbelievable.
That's not with everything on it. That's just the average, what I guess you would call baseline.
I got you that. I've heard the same thing. I know it's
like-
extremely expensive.
It's like 60, I think it was 65,900 for a base model. It's like, who in the Midwest has got that kind of money? Nobody I know.
office, go home to my wife and my family, and I will fight for my name. That's what you normally do. I said the exact opposite. We will fight this scum that we have to beat. We will fight them, and we will win. But it was all set up by Crooked Joe and his weaponized Department of Justice. But since the show trial in New York, that rigged trial, where again, the greatest legal scholars, Dershowitz, Jonathan Turley, right? Greg Jarrett, the great Mark Levin,
I like Greg Jarrett.
all of them.
I do too.
Andy McCarthy.
And
all of
Andy
them,
McCarthy.
great scholars, and then many more, many more. Not one of them said this was a case, but I had a judge who was horrendous, who was radical. He was appointed by the Democrats. He was appointed by the Democrat machine. He didn't win a vote. Normally you have to win a vote. He was appointed. And I'm not allowed to talk about it because I have a gag order. Think of it. I'm running for president of the United States. I had a very successful presidency. Even the fake news says that mostly. I had a very successful presidency. I win the nomination in record time. You know, I don't know if you know, we won the nomination in the quickest period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I won the nomination like 3 months ago, right?
Something
Normally it would
else
still
about
be going on.
the electric vehicles.
Go ahead.
Something else about the electric vehicles that they don't tell you. The charging unit for your house costs $1,000. And you have to have your entire house rewired to support the charging unit.
I've heard that myself. I know it's expensive and it's difficult to do, and there's always a cost with that stuff. Unfortunate.
The President of the United States, the nominee for President of the United States, somebody that had an unbelievably successful administration, which everybody, look at us. We got the biggest tax cuts in history, the biggest regulation cuts in history, rebuilt the military, started no wars, but we finished ISIS. We beat the hell out of them. Soleimani gone. Think of that. Think of what we did. The leader of ISIS gone, all gone. That's al-Baghdadi.
Hey.
Al-Baghdadi is gone. They're
Go
all
ahead.
gone.
I'm going to have to get off of here.
Country
My
ever.
battery
Kim
on my
Jong-un
phone
liked
is
Trump.
down to almost 20%.
No problem, my friend. Thanks for stopping by and joining us. All right.
Yep, we'll do
Thanks.
this again. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you. Thank you, my
War.
friend.
If we don't get this
Bye.
thing done, it's going to happen soon. The area I'm most troubled by is the next 5 months, because really bad things could happen with this president. This president is a disaster for our country, and I'm very worried about the next 5 months. 5 months is a long time. You know what 5 months is in this world? 5 months is an eternity. It's an eternity. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election in 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election in 2024. Not going to allow it. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it a great badge of honor. I'm being indicted for you. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. Never. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way.
Love it.
So you have a second very important function. You have to, you know, we win Pennsylvania, we win the presidency. And all I can tell you is you'll be happy. You'll have a great economy. You'll have low energy costs. You'll be drilling. You'll get all the way back. You're going to be at levels that you've never seen before, just like you were. You know, they asked that question. Even the enemy said, I hope they don't compare the 4 years with Biden and the 4 years with Trump. But I do that now because they said that. People were happy. It's like 92% preferred my term than his term. What's good about his term? Not one thing good has happened during. What has happened? They had the worst catastrophe in history, the greatest embarrassment in the history of our country with Afghanistan. But you have to do something else. You have to elect a senator, because we can also take the Senate. And if we take the Senate, the presidency, we're going to take the House. I'm sure of that. And we have a man who's a warrior, a great military person, an incredible guy. And we have to elect him as the U.S. Senator from your state. And just so you know, Dave McCormick is a seventh-generation Pennsylvanian who grew up in Bloomsburg, went to West Point, did great there, and earned a Bronze Star for his service in the first Gulf War, which was a victory. Dave went on to an outstanding career in business, and now he's fighting for the people of this Commonwealth, and he loves this Commonwealth. I mean, he's really a high-quality person. I actually said, Dave, are you too high quality for this job? But I'd rather have that than the other. And honestly, you have a senator who's been there forever. His father was there forever. He doesn't do anything. I don't think I ever met him during my years in Washington. He doesn't do anything. I don't want to use the word he's a stiff, but he doesn't do anything. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody has any idea. And Dave McCormick is going to be an activist for you. We have so much. You have to protect your Second Amendment. You need help. Dave will vote to secure your borders, stand up to China, unleash incredible amounts of Pennsylvania energy. You know, you're taking a lot of money, but they want to stop it. They want to have you never take out energy out of your beautiful ground. I call it liquid gold. And he wants to stop Bidenflation, and he wants to drain the swamp. Most importantly, Dave will defeat your atrocious radical left Senator Bob Casey. Bob Casey, look, I mean, he doesn't do anything. He's a stiff. He doesn't do anything. You ever have people like that? You meet them and they put you to sleep. You say, hello, how are you? And you fall asleep. That's Bob Casey. You fall asleep.
I love the
Hello,
people
Bob,
behind
how
him
are
laughing.
you? I'm going to sleep, Bob. And Bob Casey votes for Sleepy Joe 98% of the time. 98. Bob Casey could have used his vote to stop Joe Biden's invasion of this country. Instead, he voted in favor of sanctuary cities. He voted against Kate's Law. How do you vote against Kate's Law? He voted to give illegal aliens taxpayer-funded benefits. He voted against the border wall. And he supports Joe Biden's bill to institute a minimum of 2 million illegal border crossers every year. He passed this thing. He signed this bill. It's the worst. It's worse than it is without it. It's crazy. And then he never did anything about it anyway, because he never does. Because Joe doesn't do anything that's good. Name one thing that he's done in 3.5 years that's good. Pennsylvania, you need to defeat open borders. Bob Casey, you have to get rid of your open borders, and Bob Casey will fight us all the way. Well, he doesn't fight, really. He doesn't really. It's not like, oh, gee, Bob Casey. He just goes like this. They have guys that fight. Well, they fight for crooked elections, let's face it. But you have to elect. Look, I know David McCormick. I know him through business. He's tough as hell, and he's good. He's what you need, and really a great military personality. David McCormick, please come up. You have my total support and my total endorsement, and you got to win. Dave McCormick, come on up, Dave.
That's pretty sweet to get a call up by the president like that, eh?
Thank you.
I wanna zing
'Cause I was
through
all
Bob
set to get
McCormick
out.
there.
We had nobody lost in Afghanistan for 18 months. I spoke to Abdul, the leader of the Taliban. The press went crazy. Why would you speak to him? Because that's where the problem is. Just like Jesse James said, that's where the money is. When they say, why do you only rob banks? He said, that's where the money is. Well, the Taliban was, that's where the killing was. And I spoke to him, and we didn't have, after that, we didn't have one death of one soldier for 18 months. And then you had that horrible, stupid, incompetent withdrawal where they took the soldiers out first. But these families know firsthand the cost of Joe Biden's weakness and incompetence and failure. This family group, and I've gotten to know them, they thought I wouldn't spend a lot of time with them. They were at Bedminster, New Jersey, and they thought I was going to come in maybe for about 2 minutes, say hello, walk. And I thought of maybe had that in mind. I walked in, I saw them. We ended up spending 4 hours listening to music, right? Out at the terrace, looking up and talking about their loved ones. And they've taken it very, very hard, as anybody would. So I want to thank Darren, Stan Hoover, and Kelly Barnett, parents of Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Christy, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm looking over in the other area. He's looking down. You know, they're all looking down right now, and they're proud of you. The parents and sisters and brothers, there are a lot of them here. Christy Shamblin and Cheryl Jules, mother-in-law and aunt of Sergeant Nicole Gee. Where are they? And just so sad that it happened. It would have never happened if we were elected, if we were in office. First of all, we wouldn't have used that airport. We would have used Bagram, which is a big airport with tremendous 50-mile surroundings. And we would have taken the military out.
All right, that pretty well wraps up the actual speech. The rest of it is pretty well the endings that we've seen many times with Donald Trump's speeches. I thought it was a pretty decent speech, and I was really impressed with the fact you had 20,000 or more individuals there in that one venue. And remember, this is normal for President Trump. You get President Biden, he can barely get a few people there. I think we were talking about the last speech, the last campaign event he had. He had, what, like 20 people there? Pretty funny, pretty outrageous. Also wanted to give my regular viewers a little peek. I have some videos we're going to be doing very soon. Obviously, we're waiting on the Supreme Court decision pertaining to President Donald Trump and whether or not he will have some type of immunity. I'm pretty certain he's going to have some type of immunity. I hope it's absolute immunity, but unfortunately, it's probably going to be more like qualified immunity, which will still be a win for President Trump. However, it is going to weaken, in my opinion, the position of the President of the United States. However, it's not going to allow the deep state to completely swallow it up like we've talked about before on this particular show. So be sure to stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed, this is a good time to subscribe. Might as well subscribe. If you're still with me, make sure you hit the thumbs up, like, share. I have a video coming out where some of these other Supreme Court decisions that are not getting as much press are very interesting and very important. And I'm going to be having some shows pertaining to these decisions that you might not be aware of, but you need to be, because they affect your life every single day, whether you know it or not. It's always important that we continue to talk and work together. And folks, share this video with one of your indoctrinated friends, somebody that might need some help, somebody who might be confused, somebody who might not know the truth. That's what I'm here for, is to help everybody understand the world we live in We have to stop indoctrination. We have to put a stop to these lies. And the only way to do that is to continue to talk about these particular events going on in our life. It's very, very important. This election coming up is probably the most consequential election we're going to see in our lifetime. I want to give a quick shout out to American Nana, Zach, of course, my friend Sapphire. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody, but I always appreciate, especially my regular viewers, showing up and supporting the channel. It is definitely something that I appreciate, and I don't take it for granted. I want to thank everybody who's turned in on the X platform. We've had quite a few people on and off on X. Of course, my regular YouTube subscribers. And we have a friend on Twitch who's always there. And I think I knew who my friend is, so I'll say hello. At any rate, folks, appreciate you joining me. I can't wait to see the debate tomorrow night. It's going to be good. It's going to be exciting. So make sure you get rested up because it's going to be a little bit later in the evening time. I think it starts at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and CNN is going to be the host. They're going to be what they call simulcasting it, so it's going to be pretty well everywhere, but CNN is going to be the actual host and the direct source. But again, you can watch it on Fox or whatever your particular favorite channel is. All right. Appreciate you joining me, my friends. I always say, keep that mind free. Never give up. Until next time, I am J.R. Dukes.